Morena e te whānau, morena te ao, morena. Good morning everybody, and good morning world. It is day 22, Saturday morning, 6:15, just out for my morning walk, and I figured I want to start this video off a little differently from how I have done in the past, the recent past I should say. If you watched last night's or yesterday's video, I mentioned that I watched a YouTube video. It was from Jim Rohn, and it was the 10 things that we need to do to be more successful or something like that. And the last one, and arguably the most important one, was to be grateful, or in other words, gratitude. And one thing that I always do first thing in the morning when I do this little hikoi, this little walk, is I say a karakia, a prayer, a Māori prayer. I think I may have done this once before, but I'll explain what I do now. So essentially, the first thing I do is I thank God, Te Atua, for blessing this walk and allowing me a chance to look after my health and well-being. And then I go on to thank Him for another day on earth, another chance to learn, to live, and to love, and to experience the fullness of life, or what it has to offer. I then go on to thank God for the senses that I have, basically acknowledging that not everybody has those. So, the five senses. So sight, being able to see another sunrise is a blessing. Being able to see in general is a blessing. Not everybody can see. Being able to touch or to feel, pain and pleasure. You can't just pick one and not the other. So not everybody has the ability to feel. Some people are paralyzed. So I thank God for that. And then the third one, for my hearing, my ability to hear, bird song, hear birds in the background, hear my own voice, be able to communicate with others. That's a blessing. Not everybody has that. And then the fourth is my nose, my ability to smell, to smell flowers, jasmine, lavender, freshly baked bread. That's a blessing. Not everybody can smell. And then the last one is taste. My mouth, my tongue, whatever you want to call it. My I can't think of the science thing. Taste buds. The ability to taste, like the richness of the flavors. From the sweetness of the strawberry to sourness of the lemon, saltiness of sardines. For some reason, sardines is the only thing I can think of when it comes to salty. But anyway, the spiciness of chili, and so forth. And then I go one step further to acknowledge the sixth sense, which I call and think of as like intuition, gut feeling, sort of like seeing the unseen, touching the untouchable, hearing the unhearable, all of that stuff, like to see what is not there in physical form, spirituality. Some people are better at this than others. In society, I guess we call these people mediums, clairvoyants, tarot readers, you know, all of that stuff. People that have a special connection with God and with spirits, and can hear things we can't hear and see things that we can't see. So I acknowledge that, and you know, the ability to kind of just detect like feeling. Everybody's probably got different levels of that. I know that I can definitely kind of discern, tell, you know, if somebody's genuine or not. I'm sure you can too, to different degrees. And that's what I do every morning. And then at night, in my journal, I also keep everything that I'm grateful for. And then the very last thing I do before I sleep is I say another karakia, a different one. Sometimes I make it up. I might create a specific one for the unique context. So, you know, for example, when we were going down to Hamilton the other day for an interview, one of the prayers was set around, you know, giving my fiance the strength and the courage to express herself fully. So yeah, that's what I do. That's all about gratitude, and it's really important because, yeah, we take so much for granted. We take so much for granted. It's not even funny. But that's it. That's already quite a long video now, so I'll end it here. I'm almost home, and I'll see you a bit later in the day. Cheers. Morena. It is 7:15. It's about an hour, probably since the last video that I did. I am over the North Shore. Just joined my fiance for work, and I'm gonna do an hour's of study. So I figured I'll just tell you that I'm gonna do an hour's of study. While I'm sitting here waiting in the car, I brought my laptop. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. Anyway, I'll see you a bit later. Morena. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I just did my post on LinkedIn. It was super fast. I basically had pre-written it yesterday. I was working on it a while, and I gave myself 10 minutes to get it done. It was like 8:55, and then I posted it at 9:01. Which was kind of, yeah, I pushed myself to meet the 9 o'clock deadline. And to be fair, it's an arbitrary, completely made up deadline, but I wanted to do my best to keep to it, because otherwise I could have sat here and spent ages tinkering around with it, you know, basically overthinking it. And, you know, I guess the whole part of this documenting this journey is that everything doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, perfection is a myth. Waiting for perfection is the thing that has certainly held me back from doing anything, from taking the first step, from doing something, because I never felt ready. I never felt like I was good enough. And it's like, well, you never really are going to be. That's not well, maybe that's the wrong way of putting it, but you're not gonna be ready. You do it anyway. I even in this LinkedIn post, that was basically about asking the question, what is your writing archetype? So, you know, we know that there's like personality types, we know that there's communication styles, etc., etc., etc. But I didn't really know if there was writing styles, and I discovered apparently there are. So then I asked ChatGPT, I said, because I had this internal monologue with myself, I was asking the question of what makes writing, and maybe that's a post for another day, but what makes writing authentic? What makes my writing unique? What makes your writing unique? What makes other authors' writing unique? How do they communicate their ideas? How do we know that the person who wrote it is a human versus AI. You know, because I've been using AI a lot, like every day. I've been talking to ChatGPT every day, I should say. Been conversing with ChatGPT every single day. I bought the pro plan, I guess you would call it, or some kind of paid plan where I get access to projects, so I can create a project which is like a folder, and then you can have a bunch of chats within that folder, and you can set instructions so that all of the chats follow the same memory or have the same memory, follow the same instructions, and it's been really good. But it's also become like a massive how do I say, a massive workload, because now I have like a dozen project folders and half a dozen project chats in each one. So like, for example, I have a project folder for this, for my YouTube series. I have a project folder for my LinkedIn posts. I have a project folder for what else, job interview prep. So like, and then I have, you know, instructions in each of those, and then all of the chats that I have, rather than just having like one really long thread, I can kind of break them up into individual things, like individual projects or individual chats or whatever. So for example, I have one for Darren Daily Summaries, and in that one I have a chat for each day. That's maybe not the best way to do it. It's just how I'm doing it at the moment, because I didn't want to have one really long, like, you know, because I want to be doing it every day, where like if I want to find day, you know, 3 and it's day 20, I have to scroll. So that's why I thought having individual chats for each day is a good approach. Eventually that's gonna not work well, but anyway, I'm going off topic. The purpose of today's post was to understand what kind of writer you are. So I discovered that so there's like 8 archetypes. I swear I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I'm like a hybrid. So it's like a sage, a fire starter, and what was the third one? Shit, I forgot. Anyway, it's in the LinkedIn post. I might put a link in the description so you can have a look. But it said like the 4 things that I do that's unique to my writing style is like conversational, but with intent. One of it was like purpose driven, framing. Another one was kind of like reflexive, and something else. Man, my memory is so bad at these things sometimes. But when I read it, I was like, wow, that's so on point. It's kind of like when you know, if you're into personality types and you read it and you've always felt misunderstood. I read it and I was like, yeah, that is me. And then I was like, okay, so this is the answer. So when I asked ChatGPT to write something for me, and sometimes it doesn't sound like me, that's why, because it's just, you know, maybe it's just, I don't know. That's another question I have to ask ChatGPT is, how do you actually write something? Because you can program it. That's the thing that a lot of people probably don't realize, is that you need to stop treating ChatGPT like a search engine and treat it like a virtual assistant. Like, you can communicate, you can converse with it, you can ask it questions, you can do some really clever stuff if you like ask the right questions. So yeah, it was like I had an epiphany actually. It was kind of in yesterday's video with regards to the post that I made at the beginning of this. One of my lectures from 15 years ago, she only said a few words, but the words that she said were so powerful. She basically said that one thing that you've always been really good at is writing and being a talented, superb communicator. And I'm like, shit, you're right. And it hit me. It's like, I am a writer. Why have I not written any books? Because I've always been procrastinating. Anyway, this is getting really long. I don't know why I wanted to do this. I guess I'm very passionate about it, clearly. I could talk about this for ages. That's kind of the problem. So yeah, I did do my hours study, which I got some stuff done. Did the post, and I had like a little mini breakfast in the car. So now I'm just going to chill out a bit, I guess. Maybe, I'm going to read a book. And yeah, wait for my fiance to get back from her work. And I'll catch up with you later. Cheers.